الله أوله بلا أول كان قبله وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعده الذي خسرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواسفين. ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم وغاصبي حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم ومناقبهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، قال الله الحكيم محكم كتابه المجيد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وجعلناهم أئمة يهدون بأمرنا. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. We extend our condolences to the Imam of our time for these days of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, and we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity, for giving us the tawfiq to commemorate, to gather together, to be together, to remember Imam Husayn and the sacrifices that were given by the ashab of Imam Husayn, by the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The topic of our discussion is the eternal legacy of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, while focusing upon the history, spirit and struggle. Like as we said, it is an historic event, however an event which was already mentioned pre-eternally. It was even mentioned before the birth of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. When we reflect upon the narratives that we have in relation to his birth itself, one will be quite perplexed and surprised to see the extent of detail been mentioned in these narratives. One of the du'as that we recite on the 3rd of Sha'ban, which comes from the 11th Imam, Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And I had touched this dua a bit. We spoke a little bit about this dua last year as well. However, there are certain things which are quite important that in the gatherings of Ashura, in the gatherings of Muharram, that we need to revisit. One of the most important aspects of revisitation in these 10 nights is the aspect of the Khilqat al-Nuri of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The divine creation as being the Muhammadan light, or as the first of all creation. And that is our aqidah and that is our iman, that the nur of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad was created first. And from this nur of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, everything was created. And this concept, this reality must be fully comprehended and understood. And these are based upon the principles which are important that we kind of touch a bit to remind us and also to make our iman stronger. For example, when I mentioned about the dua of the 3rd of Sha'ban, in which the 11th Imam, Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam, so we have to understand the period of the 11th Imam. You're not talking about the 3rd Imam, 2nd Imam or 5th Imam. You're talking about the 11th Imam, which is just an Imam before the 12th Imam. And also we have to understand the lifespan of the 11th Imam, which was very short. And also we have to understand that most of his life was also in house arrest. He was in prison. And also we have to understand that the Imam must transfer the knowledge to the next Imam and to the community so that it will help them to protect their Iman for the hereafter. Not just for the hereafter, for the individual or personal basis, as we said, that the harakat and the uprising of Imam Husayn and the sacrifice of Imam Husayn was not just for that period, no. It was till the Qiyamah. It was something that the Islam will be saved till the Day of Judgment. That was the sacrifice of Imam Husayn. The calculation which Imam Husayn did was that his sacrifice, with his sacrifice, Islam will be protected till the Day of Judgment. Till the zuhur of the 12th Imam. Hiya hatta matlai al-fajr. And we said that the 10 nights, walayal al-fajr, which is Surah Fajr which talks about. And then hatta matlai al-fajr, which is the zuhur of Imam, is the matlai al-fajr. The tulu of Fajr is actually the zuhur of Imam. What is it? Salamun hiya hatta matlai al-fajr. What is till the Fajr? Is salam. What is salam? Is the salamati of deen, is the protection of deen, is the protection of iman. Till what time? Till the tulu al-fajr, which is the zuhur of Imam Zaman. So you have, Allah is promising in Surah Fajr. If you look at Surah Fajr, like as we said, the riwayat and the ayat requires a deeper understanding. What do they really mean? And the Ahlul Bayt have given us the lead to understand that. When Quran is talking about the 10, is saying, I promise by the 10 nights. Okay. Now, what 10 nights? Is the 10 nights of Ashura. People at that time, Ashura hasn't happened yet. Well, Imam Husayn is not born yet, but the riwayat is talking about him being shaheed as well. We are not born yet, but the Quran is saying, Alastu bi rabbikum. And it's saying that in Al-Mazar you all accepted Islam. Well, you are not born yet, but the Quran is talking about that. Right? So this concept and this understanding of pre-eternity, pre-existence before the existence is a key concept. It's a very central esoteric reality of Shia Islam particularly. And we also find the trends of it in Sufism as well. And as a matter of fact, I always mention this, that every deen, every religion, for it to be an authentic, must have an esoteric concept or a reality with it. And we do find that all adyan, all religions, have a very deep, essential, esoteric reality to it. Whether that be Hinduism, Taoism, Buddhism, or Judaism, or Christianity, it has that. If you look at, for example, I'm just mentioning this in the margin. If you look at how Christ is introduced in the Bible in regards to his existence, a very similar concept as we have in Islam, which is that the first of creation is the Nur of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, but the Bible talks about that the first of creation is Christ, which is the esoteric reality within Christianity, which should be respected. So what I'm trying to say that a deen and its authentication actually sits upon the esoteric soundness, and how this esoteric, spiritual, deeper understanding is laid, is explained, is understood. Right? Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Now you have those 10 nights. So therefore the sacrifice of Imam Husayn was such a sacrifice. The shahadat of Imam Husayn was such a great shahadat that the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt and the religion was protected till the reappearance of the 12th Imam. And that's what these 10 nights, the Surah Fajr is talking about. It's saying that by those 10 nights. Right? And then you have the Surah Qadr, which actually points out to, or the reality of Surah Qadr, the Masumeen alayhi salam have said that it is the proof, Surah Qadr is the proof for the existence of the 12th Imam, that the 12th Imam is alive, that the Surah Qadr is the proof itself, because Tanazzalul Malaikatu war-Ruh, where does that take place? That Tanazzalul Malaikatu war-Ruh takes place upon the heart of the Imam who is living. The Imam is Aman upon the heart of the 12th Imam. These Nuzul Malaika takes place. So, Hatta Matlai al-Fajr is actually Imam Husayn sacrifice has saved the deen and Quran and protected the Quran till that period. Now, we were speaking about, so therefore it is important to look at the deeper meaning of these ayat and riwayat. The 11th Imam, the dua is from the 11th Imam. Now the Imam must transfer the esoteric science and knowledge to the community at that time, and also this should remain as it has remained today, that even in Mafati, on the 3rd of Shaban, we recite this dua. After 1,000 odd years, we still recite. 1,200 years, we still recite that dua. Where does it come from? It comes from the 11th Imam. So if you look at that dua, it talks about that, oh Allah, for the sake of the Mawlud, whose martyrdom was already announced before his birth, and upon whom the heaven and earth cried. And whatsoever is in the heaven and whatsoever is on the earth, they cried. All the jinn and malaika, every creation and every existence, cried on Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. Right? This is where and when? Before his birth. So this concept or this understanding that the announcement of the martyrdom of Imam Husayn had already taken place before him being born. This is our Iman. This is what Shiaism means. This is the esoteric reality of Shia Islam. And it is something that is philosophically, mystically proven and accepted as well. Our scholars have given commentaries upon it. So just to touch a little bit on this. Now, when we look at the narrations of Masumeen alayhi salam in regards to peculiarity of Imam Husayn, for example, you would find when Jibreel came to the Prophet and he said that, I give you glad tidings of a new Mawlud, of a new birth, who's going to be killed after you. Then the Prophet said, I don't have hajat of this, I don't want this. Which grandfather wants a child to be killed in that way? If I tell you, for example, may Allah protect all your children, for example, Zayd or Jafar bhai, I give you good news that your grandson, I give you good news of grandson, and your grandson will have an accident. You'll be like, what are you talking about? What type of good news is this? And I don't want this type of, grandson who will get killed, for example, right? So the same way Jibreel comes to the Prophet and says that, oh Prophet, I bring good news to you of grandson and who will be killed in this fashion. Rasulullah said, I don't want la hajat fi. Jibreel went back, came back again 3 times. Jibreel came back, and then on the 3rd time, on the 3rd occasion, Jibreel said that with his sacrifice, imamat will be in his soul, in his lineage. With this sacrifice, the Quran will be protected. With this sacrifice, deen will be protected. Then Rasulullah cried. There isn't any riwayat that points out to that a Mawlud is born, a new birth have taken place in the family of Ahlul Bayt, and they have cried. But it's for Husayn. That when Imam Husayn was born, the Ahlul Bayt cried. Rasulullah cried. So this news was given to the mother. As it came to the Prophet said, okay, this is what Fatima said, the same thing. I don't know hajat fi, I don't have any hajat in it. For the 3rd time, Rasulullah assured and said this, that the imamat will be. Because why is it of value, imamat? What is imamat? It's very important. We are the believers of the imams. We are the believers of the 12 imams, Ithna Ashari, right? That's our iman. That's why we are known as Shias. We have to have a good understanding of imamat and what imamat is. Ibrahim was Ulul Azm prophet. There are 5 Ulul Azm prophet. One of them is Ibrahim. Hazrat Ibrahim is Ulul Azm prophet already. But when was he given imamat according to the Quran? Inni ja'iluka fin nasi imama. Idh ibtala Ibrahima bi kalimatin fa'atimmahun. Ibrahim was tested, was taken imtihan bi kalimatin, with different tests. Fa'atimmahun, and then the test was tamam, finished, fa'atimmahun. And then after the test was finished, after the imtihanat exams were taken, and he passed the exam, Inni ja'iluka fin nasi imam. Oh Ibrahim, you have reached the stage of imamat. You have passed the test. You have reached to that maqam that you will be chosen as an imam. How many tests Ibrahim went through? Right from the birth, all alone in the cave, the mother left him there. How he was brought up, how much he struggled. After that, test after test, imprisonment. Then he was tossed in fire. What happened when he was tossed in fire? He was about to fall in fire. Jibreel came and asked, "Oh Ibrahim, do you need any help?" And Ibrahim said, "From you, no. I want help from Allah." His imamat is actually based upon his tawheedi understanding. And that's our journey is. Our journey is to understand who Allah is. And our level in the hereafter is based upon how much I know Allah. That is our level in the hereafter. Yes, it talks about, Jannah and castles of Zamarud and Emerald and so on and so forth. These are all, for people, who don't have that comprehension and understanding. Because Allah is merciful. The true reality is how much nearness that I have. Like for example, in Dua of Khitabat of Maghrib, we recite, وَجِبَارِ نَبِيَكَ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّلَامُ. Oh Allah, make me put me in the vicinities, in the neighborhood of Rasulullah. So that my house be in the hereafter, in the neighborhood of Rasulullah. It doesn't say, "Oh Allah, put me in Jannah with this castle, with that castle, this and that and the other." As simple as that, make me the neighbor of Rasulullah, which means that obviously I will be, on the highest level of Jannah, right? But that even is actually based upon how close Rasulullah is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The qurb and the true reality is knowing Allah. That's how much of Tawheed we understand. And there are different levels of Tawheed, levels of understanding of Tawheed. There is Tawheed Zati, there is Tawheed Asma'i, there is Tawheed Afali. These are all different Tawheed that are there. So Ibrahim said no. Even though Jibreel is the archangel. Jibreel is an angel that not every prophet have the capability and capacity to see. Jibreel doesn't come from everybody because the heart, the capacity of the soul must be there to see Jibreel. It requires a big, humongous, strong soul to see Jibreel. He's an archangel. Not everybody can see. But 5-year-old, 4-year-old Husayn says on the day of Ashura, do you know where I belong to? I belong to the house where Jibreel used to come to our house. And I will show you the place where Jibreel used to come and sit. It's a 4-year-old person saying that. Look at the level of Husayn. That the Anbiya, some of the prophets are unable to see Jibreel because they don't have the capacity in their heart to comprehend and understand and see. They don't have that strength. But a child, Husayn, who's a big, 5-year-old was saying, I used to see Jibreel when he used to come bring Quran to our grandfather. Grandfather, Rasulullah had that capability and capacity to see Jibreel. And Husayn had that capacity. No wonder Husayn minni wa ana min Husayn. Right? So here Ibrahim said no. Jibreel came and saw, but he said, from Allah I want. That is Tawheedi vision. That's tawakkul. That understanding. Although Jibreel is sent by Allah, but still no. I want directly from Allah that he should. And you see one after the other test. Jibreel said, oh Allah, show me how you raise people from death. When he was returning back, from the cave to Babylon, and the whole story is in the Quran, take birds, so on and so forth. I don't have time, but you have heard that story. What did Ibrahim say? Ibrahim said, I want to see the Qiyamah. Right? That visualization, seeing it, mukashafa, which we call it in the terminology. I want to see that reality and truth, so that my iman becomes stronger. Allah showed, Allah protected. One after the other, look how Allah intervened for Ibrahim. Because he was Khalilullah, isn't it? Ismail sacrifice. Ibrahim saw 3 times, I'm doing this. And then Ismail said, oh father, if you have, okay, I'm ready. Look at the journey of Tawheed of Ibrahim. For the sake of Allah, for the love of Allah. And the way Ibrahim loves Allah, Allah loved Ibrahim more. That he intervened one after the other, he has intervened. Even in the sacrifice of Ismail, you have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intervening and placing that with actually, it's this sacrifice of the nafs of Ibrahim. It's the ego Ibrahim. That is symbolic. The sacrifice of the son is actually symbolic of the sacrifice of that nafs of Ibrahim, of the soul of Ibrahim. For the sake of Allah, Ibrahim is doing that. فَأَتِمَّهُنْ إِنِّي جَعِلُكَ فِي النَّاسِ إِمَامًا. Now I will make you an imam, O Ibrahim. After all of this. So he has reached to that Tawheedi vision, that he could understand who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, and see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and see the Qiyamah. You could see the Mabda and see the Ma'ad. See Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't mean that one is capable of seeing Allah, just to clarify that. To whatever level and capacity of a human being and of an imam is, he is able to do that. And then he reached that maqam of imamat where we find our masumeen, it resonates with them, where Imam Husayn on the day of Arafah says that, O Allah, bika araftuka wa anta dallaltani. O Allah, I know you because you showed yourself to me. Ibrahim, I saw the sun, I saw the moon, and then star, and then I come to the realization of that tawheed. But Husayn is saying, you showed yourself to me. I come directly to that vision, that tawheed vision, which Imam Husayn had. Or for example, مَا رَأَيْتُ شَيْئًا قَبْلَهُ اللَّهُ مَا هُوَ اللَّهُ بَعْدَهُ اللَّهُ. Where Ali says that I should have saw before everything Allah, after everything Allah, with everything Allah. That is what is required of us, and these majalis should really lead us to. And every little story that we find, every little narratives that we find, and those narratives being the narratives mentioned in the Masahib as we said yesterday, and usually our Maulanas, kind of talk about because it's Masahib time and we quickly go over them, but there are deeper meaning behind those narratives. Right? Shimmer on the chest of Husayn, sacrificing his head, severing his head. And then Husayn says, save me. Husayn does not want to be saved. He's going to die anyways, the amount of wounds that he has. And the 3-headed arrow which was pointed to his chest, which was dipped in poison. But why is he asking to save me? Because he is representing Allah. Because he is the mercy of Allah on this earth. He is the representation of that. And then he has to provide that opportunity even to the enemy. When Musa went on the mountain of Tur, Allah asked, what was Fir'aun saying before he died? Fir'aun was saying, save me, because he was drowning. Then Allah says to Musa, oh Musa, what I would have done if I was in your shoe, I would have saved him. That's Allah. He's Rahman. He's Rahim. Husayn says, save me. Give me water before you slaughter me. Husayn does not want water. But he repeated, the hujjat he's finishing. Ibn Muljim the same way what we saw, how Amir al-Mu'min behaved. And then what did Husayn do? فَتَبَسَّمَ. Husayn smiled. Just before being severed, there was a smile on the face of Husayn. That's Fustu Rabbil Kaaba. He was successful of what? He was successful of visualizing and understanding and living and being the embodiment of Tawheed on earth. That he was a true representation of Rahman, in which we recite in Ziyarat al-Jami' Kabira, Umanaw al-Rahman. They are considered as the minarets of mercy on earth. They are the representation of mercy. They are the true Khalifatullah. They are the Imams. And Imam Husayn did this in the full capacity that is possible. That's why Husayn says, as we mentioned this in Safar Imam Husayn, Rasulullah says that, "O Husayn, you have a maqam, you have a status," which also comes from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. A very beautiful riwayat where this actually happened when Imam Husayn alayhi salam on the 27th of Rajab was in Medina, and then he saw Rasulullah in the dream, and when he saw Rasulullah in the dream, Rasulullah showed him a maqam, and that maqam is that anna lahu darajatan la yanalahu ahadun min al-makhluqin. O Husayn, you have a daraja that is not given to any makhluqin. That only Husayn have that. Not even Rasul. There's ta'aruf, there's no takalluf ta'aruf here. There's no formality. And this is not like just to praise, eloquency, which chote bacche, but it's not like children that we say, "Oh, Hussain, you have this," No. It's Imam Masoom saying this. Rasulullah saying this. That no makhluqeen have the daraja which Hussain had. And why is that? Because we have seen he fulfilled that covenant, that promise, Alastu bi Rabbikum, which we all ask. He fulfilled it with his blood. No doubt, the level of imamat, those who are the imams, they all have that potential. That's why we say, Awwaluna Muhammad, Awsatuna Muhammad, Kulluna Muhammad, we say that. Even if Imam Raza was at the time of Imam Husayn, he would have done the same thing. No doubt about that. If Rasulullah was there, he would have done the same thing. Right? They all have that potential and that reality and that truth. But Husayn was given that opportunity. We don't know why. And he managed to fulfill that in the best way. Right? That's why he was prepared. He was ready for it. His shahadat was announced before his birth. Right? Husayn was given that. And it is a fact. Like, for example, you have a person who is very generous, and everybody say that he is the most generous person, and he always gives. And you have another person who was at a place, for example, he had nothing, but whatever he had, out of generosity, he gave everything. That person is generous, well known, and he has, but he wasn't given that opportunity to give. But this person was given that opportunity, and he gave everything what he had. Who will be rewarded most? Obviously the person who gave. Yes, he will be rewarded for being generous. His generosity is within him and is potential to him. He has that sifat and attribute and good, he has achieved that. But here was a person who have showed that generosity, have acted upon that generosity, and have done paid his full due towards that, gave everything what he had. That person is obviously more generous. And he will be rewarded for that on a greater. It's the same way here. Masumi alayhi salam, that's why la yanalu, nobody ahad min al-makhluqin. From the makhluqin, no one will have that maqam, which is the maqam of Abba Hussain. A similar, just in the margin, because these two brothers are amazing and fascinating, occurs in regards to Abul Fazl Abbas alayhi salam. that, oh Abbas, you have a maqam that all of the shuhada, they envy that maqam. They desire, they yearn for that maqam which Abul Fazl Abbas had. It's very special for him. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So Imam Husayn alayhi salam, the 11th Imam, is saying that at a period, at a time where it is important to transfer that knowledge, those secrets to the community. Maybe those people who are living there, and it was the case. People who are living there, they may not comprehend what imamat is to that level, as we were talking about the takamul of zaman last night, everything reaching its kamal, right? So the soul's reaching its kamal and the time that we are living and so on and so forth, we spoke about that. So the people over there at that time, even those who were scholars and family members of the Masumeen, sometimes they doubted in the imamat. People doubted in the imamat of Imam Mirza alayhi salam. They called the face readers to say that, the 9th Imam is really the son of, the 8th Imam, because they say that he was really of dark skin, because the mother was from Somalia or Sudan, right? And he himself, his mother was also from, Morocco, northern Africa. So people doubted in the imamat of Imam Raza that how can, right? And other reasons that he was born very late as well. Scholars were there as well. People doubted in the imamat of the 9th Imam because he became an Imam at the age of 6 or 7. Once again, this is the reality and truth of it. If we understand what imamat is, we will accept an Imam to be 6 and 7 as well. And the acceptance of this should not be as a blind acceptance, based on dalail, on proofs, on reasoning. Yes, we can say that, Quran, Isa alayhi salam was also Nabi in the cradle. Okay, fine. From that as an Imani perspective. But you can prove it from daleel, from proofs that yes, it is possible for a 7-year-old to be an Imam. In terms of the intellectual capacity. Because the criteria is the maturity. The criteria is not age as such. Because that is why we always have somebody who's, 13 or 12, and these signs of becoming baligh is there, is baligh. It's not necessarily one sign that the child have to be completion of 14 that the person becomes baligh. But there are other signs by which that, child can become baligh. If the other signs have happened, although the child is not, 14 yet, still we consider as baligh. So age is not the criteria. The criteria is the intellectual capacity of the person. And when we look at in history, the 9th Imam, the 9th Imam, at the age of 7, he's defeating the chief, Qazi of the whole Islamic empire. He's defeating him in his intellectual area. So he has reached that maqam, to that level. Even today, for example, if you have somebody who is an expert in, computer science or market, stocks and so on and so forth, some genius guy, you will go, an intellectual person will go to that person and take advice from him. Although he is not, he hasn't, finished the university even, for example, right? So therefore, imamat is something that is based on the intellectual perfection. The takamul of aql, the aql and the intellect reached to that kamal that it could comprehend that tawheed. And we have seen in the lives of Ahlul Bayt, right? This is from that intellectual perspective. And there are certain things, certain realities which goes beyond intellectual capacity and comprehension. That comes in the esoteric reality, the manaviyat. That to comprehend that, to understand that, the intellect must reach to a kamal, to a perfection, and then after that is the heart, which tends to see things. The heart will see that reality. Enter that realm of esotericism. Right? Rasulullah, when he went to Miraj, Jibreel said what? I cannot go any further. But what did after that went? Is the qalb Rasul that went. Aql Rasul stopped. That's why on the day of Qiyamah, as it says in the ayah, that those who will be saved, who have qalb salim, not aql salim.
Wow.
You know, al-aman, the aman is for those people who have qalb salim, not aql salim. So when the aql reaches and it utilizes to its full capacity to comprehend the existence of God and Tawheed, and it reaches to a point. After that, it enters the realm of esotericism with the heart. And then one is capable to understand that أَوَّلُ مَا خَلْقَ اللَّهِ نُورٍ. The first thing God created is the Muhammadan light. The announcement of the martyrdom of Imam Husayn, yes, it has been taken place even before time, before this Khilqat al-Dunyawi. That is Husayn. And this aspect of our iman, of our belief system is very important to always remind us, especially these other days of our Abdullah Husayn. And such a leader is capable of having a movement which is for eternity. And Imam Husayn alayhi salam calculated all of these things in terms of the history, as we see. Last year in this place we were speaking about that Du'a Arafah of Imam Husayn points out to the theoretical Tawheed of Husayn, and on what level Husayn is in terms of theory, in terms of intellectual capacity. But the day of our Abdullah Husayn, which is Ashura, is the practical Tawheed of Husayn. Husayn showed what Tawheed is. Husayn spoke what Tawheed is on the day of Arafah. Husayn showed what Tawheed is on the day of Ashura. And the student was Zainab, who said, "Ma ra'aytu illa jamila." I saw nothing but the beauty in the plain of Karbala.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So this Imam Husayn alayhi salam, let's going back onto the history last night we spoke about. And we said that Imam decided to leave Medina when he was asked to pay allegiance, and we clearly mentioned that it was not possible for Imam Husayn to stay there because, you know, if he would have been ambushed or killed in Medina, nobody would have known, you know, in regards to the message of Imam Husayn, as we clearly see that within the very short period, people have completely forgotten Ahlul Bayt. You know, they have forgotten to the extent that on the day of Ashura, Imam Husayn was introducing himself that I am the grandson of Husayn. People who have come to kill Imam Husayn, they don't know who they are killing. The amount of propaganda was so much that they have completely forgotten. You know, as we all know that when Imam Ali alayhi salam was killed in the masjid, you know, the people in Sham, they were saying, what was he doing in masjid? You know, Ali was in masjid for what? The amount of propaganda was done by the Khalifa, by the governor of Sham was so much that they did not even recognize that Ali could go to a masjid even. Right? One thing here that this reminded me of a hadith in peculiarly to Imam Hassan and Imam Husayn is that the Prophet have said that Ali, your love have been placed in the hearts of mu'mineen. And the munafiqeen, they do not like you. And they hate you. But the love of Hassan and Hussein is placed in the heart of mu'mineen and munafiqeen as well. Even the munafiqeen cannot speak against him. That's why we find nobody can speak against Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, no matter what. They may bring certain excuses, but when it comes to, you know, hate, they cannot have that. But with Imam Ali, we have Nasibis, you know, who hate, you know, Nasibis, they don't like Imam Ali at all. But when it comes to Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, so the amount of propaganda was so much that they have forgotten completely Ahlul Bayt. And this has started right after the Prophet, when Hadith was banned. You know, Hizbuna Kitab Allah, Hadith is banned. You know, book is enough for us. If book was really enough for you, look, your calculation and your understanding was that the book is enough. And you may be a good person, but your calculation was that. If the book was enough, that very book says that Muharram is the month of haram and you cannot kill anyone. Look, these Muslims who have taken the book is enough for us, came in the month of Muharram and killed the grandson of the Prophet.
Yeah.
So when you separate the book and Ahl Bayt, that's why Rasulullah said, Inni tarikum fikum al-thaqalain, kitab Allah wa itratim. The book and the Ahl Bayt, they have to be together to completely to have a full understanding of that tawheed, of what deen is. So here it was banned to write hadith, to speak about hadith. As we said that, yes, people maybe, your intention is that people are writing hadiths, they are just fabricating hadiths, they are all wrong hadiths. In order to, stop that, I have made hadiths banned completely. Okay, if people are fabricating hadiths, where they will come for authentication? They will come to Ahl Bayt alayhi salam to come for authentication. So was it actually for that, or was it actually to ban completely people attending and coming to the Ahl Bayt alayhi salam? So it has started so, and it has reached to a point where Imam Husayn alayhi salam, when he leaves Medina, he gives a wasiyat to Muhammad ibn Hanafiyyah. It's a very important wasiyat. You can go and Google it, read it. He's saying, I am leaving Medina in order to revive the deen of my Jadd of Rasulullah. The sunnah have been forgotten completely. I want to revive the sunnah of Rasulullah. That's my purpose of leaving. He's clearly saying that. And then, he reaches to Makkah. He chooses to go to Makkah. And that's the place where people will come and he will give that message. He already started giving messages. He already started giving sermons and speeches on his way from Medina to Makkah and from Makkah to Kufa when he was leaving. And he sends Muslim ibn Aqil, who was the first representative gone on behalf of Imam Husayn, to Kufa to see how Kufa is. And Muslim took two of his sons, Ibrahim and Muhammad. Muhammad, they say he was 13 years old. Ibrahim was 9 years old. Very young, but they are from the family of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. 13 साल का बच्चा भी और उसकी मंतिक भी और उसकी अक्ल भी उस दर्जे पे है, जब उससे पूछा जाए कि कासिम तुम्हें मौत कैसी लगती है, तो वो ये कहता है कि शहद से ज़्यादा शीरीन मौत है. तो ये वो घराने के जो है अतफाल है, ये वो घराने के बच्चे हैं. इब्राहीम और मोहम्मद, जबकि कहा गया है कि जब मुस्लिम इब्न अकील को शहीद किया गया, और हम कह रहे थे मुस्लिम के मसाइब में ये कि जो सबसे पहला शहीद है हुसैन, इमाम हुसैन के तरफ से, वो गरीब शहीद किया गया, वो अकेला था, तक व तन्हा. और जो आखिरी शहीद है इमाम हुसैन के क़ियाम का, वो भी गरीब शहीद किया गया. हुसैन वो गरीब शहीद किया गया. इसीलिए हम ज़ियारत में पढ़ते हैं वल वित्र अल मौतूर, तक व तन्हा है हुसैन. मुस्लिम भी उसी तरह से तक व तन्हा थे जब उन्हें दारुल इमारा पे ले जाया गया. और मुस्लिम का दर्जा वो था, मुस्लिम की मानवियत वो थी कि जब मुस्लिम को दारुल इमारा से ढकला जा रहा था, मुस्लिम ने मक्का के तरफ रुख करके अब सलाम दिया, अस्सलामु अलैका अबा अब्दुल्लाह, मेरा आखिरी सलाम कबूल हो मेरे मौला, मेरे आका. और फिर हुसैन वहाँ पर क़ैमगाह में उस सलाम को कबूल किया और उस सलाम का जवाब दिया. तो ये मुस्लिम की मानवियत उस हद तक थी. देखिए, मुस्लिम का सलाम वहाँ तक पहुँचा और हुसैन का जवाब मुस्लिम तक. और फिर जैसा ही ये सलाम आया, इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम ने मुस्लिम के छोटे बेटियों को बुलाया और अपना हाथ इन बेटियों के सर पर फेरा और कहने लगे कि ये बच्चियां यतीम हो गई. मुस्लिम को दारुल इमारा से ढकला गया, मुस्लिम जमीन पर गिर गए और शहीद हो गए. ये खबर इब्राहीम और मोहम्मद तक नहीं पहुंची थी, और मुस्लिम शहीद होने से पहले अपने हानी को ये बतला दिया था कि इन बच्चों को किसी भी तरह जो है मदीना की तरफ रवाना कर दिया जाए, क्योंकि इनके भी दुश्मन यहाँ पे मौजूद है. मुस्लिम देख रहे हैं कि कूफे में कोई नहीं है जो अहले बैत के चाहने वालों में से हो, जो इनको सहारा दे सके. और यहाँ पे वो वक्त आ गया कि हानी और मोहम्मद एक काफिले के पीछे भागते भागते दौड़ते दौड़ते थक गए, और वो काफिला जो मदीना जाना था वो रवाना हो गया. ये दो तिफल अकेले वीरान सहरगाह में घूमते हुए एक जा पहुंचे, एक दरख्त पे जा पहुंचे, और वहां पे रावी ये लिखता है कि एक खातून आती है, पानी भरना चाहती है, और फिर जब देखती है कि इस पानी में दो खूबसूरत से चांद से जो है छोटे छोटे बच्चों का चेहरा मुनाकिस होता है, और इन्हें इस दरख्त से नीचे बुलाती है और अपने घर ले जाती है, और इन्हें नवाजिश करती है और इन्हें खाना देती है, और कहती है कि तुम यहाँ पे रहना, इंशाअल्लाह कल मैं तुम्हें रवाना करूंगी मदीना की तरफ। लेकिन कुछ छोटे बच्चों को क्या पता था कि इस खातून का जो शौहर था वो जालिम था। जब वो थक के रात में घर को आता है और कहता है कि इब्न ज़ियाद जो है इनाम रखा है, मुस्लिम के बच्चों को जो पकड़ेगा और लाएगा उसे इनाम देगा। मैं दिन भर इस बच्चों को तलाश करता रहा लेकिन उन्हें कहीं नहीं पाया, और फिर उसके बाद रात हो जाती है, और जब ये रात हो जाती है ये दो छोटे बच्चे एक दूसरे के साथ एक दूसरे से गिरिया करते हुए सो जाते हैं, और फिर ख्वाब में बाबा को देखकर, और ख्वाब में क्या देखते हैं कि रसूल खुदा वहां पे बैठे हैं, अमीरुल मोमिनीन वहां पे बैठे हुए हैं, और फिर एकदम मुस्लिम इब्न अकील आते हैं, और मुस्लिम इब्न अकील अपने बच्चों के लिए परेशान हैं और रसूल खुदा दिलासा दे रहे हैं। और यहाँ पर जब ये बच्चे अपने बाप को रसूलुल्लाह के साथ देखते हैं तो ये समझ जाते हैं कि बाप को शहीद कर दिया गया है, और फिर ये गिरिया करने लगते हैं। इस बच्चों की गिरियों की आवाज उस मलऊन, उस जालिम शख्स के तक जा पहुंचती है। वो शख्स बीदार हो जाता है, और जब इस बच्चों के हुजरे में आकर देखता है कि दो बच्चे मुस्लिम के हैं, इन्हें तमाचे मारने लगता है, और फिर इन्हें घसीटता हुआ फुरात की तरफ चला जाता है। जब फुरात की तरफ जाता है तो इसका बेटा भी और इसकी बीवी भी इसे रोक रही है, लेकिन ये नहीं सुनता, इसके आंखों में खून आ गया है, और फिर ये कहता है इन छोटे बच्चों से कि तुम्हारी कोई आखिरी ख्वाहिश है? आमादा हो जाओ तो मैं तुम्हारा सर कलम करूंगा। और फिर मोहम्मद कहते हैं कि हाँ, मेरी आखिरी ख्वाहिश ये है कि मेरा सर पहले कलम करो, मेरे छोटे भाई का सर बाद में। जब पूछा गया कि क्यों ये कह रहे हो तो कहते हैं मोहम्मद कि मैं ये नहीं चाहता कि मेरा भाई मुझे देखकर घबरा जाए, और मैं ये चाहता हूँ कि मेरा छोटा, जब ये शख्स अपने चाहता है कि सर कलम करे, कहा गया है कि इब्राहिम जो छोटे भाई थे वो अपना गला जो है बड़े भाई के गले पे रख देते हैं, लेकिन ये शख्स नहीं सुनता, दोनों का सर कलम करता है, और फिर उसके बाद इनके जसद को, इनके जिस्म को नहर फुरात में डाल देता है। इसी वजह से हम देखते हैं कि मुस्लिम इब्न अकील के जो बच्चों की जो मज़ार है कहीं दूर है, क्योंकि ये दोनों दामन में एक दूसरे का लेकर इस फुरात में आगे निकल गए थे। इन सरों को लेकर मुस्लिम ये शख्स इन सरों को, दो इब्राहिम और मोहम्मद के शख्स को तश्त में लेकर इब्न ज़ियाद के पास जाता है। जब इब्न ज़ियाद इन दो छोटे छोटे सरों उसके दिल में भी रहम आता है और कहता है कि मनून तो किस किस्म का शख्स है कि इन लाडले बच्चों को किस तरह से तूने शहीद किया है। लेकिन एक ऐसा भी शहीद है जो 6 महीने वाला है और इसका सर नेज़े पे है, और इसीलिए कहा गया है कि शायर ने क्या खूब लिखा है, कहता है माँ मैं नेज़े पे हूँ, मुझे अपने दामन में ले ले। मातम हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन,
هذا لايك كله بس
या हुसैन, 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 या हुसैन।